Hi, my name is Shir Perets, and I'm the Senior Manager of the Jerusalem Post's Breaking News Desk. Today, we're going to look back at some of the biggest stories of the last week and the biggest conspiracies that have spun out from them. This is Scratching the Surface. Three stories, three sources, with one thing in common. They're all feeding a version of events where Israel is either the villain, the puppet master, or, depending on who you ask, both. So, let's take a look at them one by one. Story 1. A bridge in southern Lebanon, a Russian TV crew, and a very convenient narrative. RT, Russia's state broadcaster, was filming near the Kasmia crossing on the Litany River when an IDF strike hit the area. Cameraman Ali Rita and correspondent Steve Sweeney were injured. Within hours, the story was already being told in a very specific way. Rita, speaking from a hospital bed, claimed the Israeli enemy targeted us deliberately while we were wearing official press uniforms. Sweeney, on X, claimed he had absolutely no doubt this was a deliberate strike. He also used the strike to call Israeli operations in Lebanon ethnic cleansing. Russia's foreign ministry called the strike a crime. The Russian embassy in Lebanon said it was difficult to believe it was an accident and called on UNESCO to formally condemn Israel. But let's take a look at what we actually know. The IDF had issued a prior warning about military activity in that exact area, the Litany River zone, before the strike occurred. The Lebanese army was notified. Israel's ambassador to Russia rejected the framing directly, saying, "Here's what matters. RT is not an independent news outlet, it is Russian state media. The same ecosystem that, as we talked about in our last episode, has spent years running disinformation operations, including using video game footage as battlefield evidence." That doesn't mean the strike wasn't tragic or that journalists shouldn't be protected. They absolutely should be. But it does mean that when the RT correspondent immediately pivots from "I was injured" to "this is ethnic cleansing" before any investigation has occurred, that's not journalism, that's messaging. And Russia filing a formal diplomatic protest with Israel while actively supporting Iran throughout this war, that's not concern for press freedom. That's a geopolitical move wearing a press badge. Story 2. Washington, D.C. A resignation letter and the words "Israel's powerful lobby." Joseph Kent, former director of the National Counterterrorism Center, resigned this week. He posted the letter publicly on X, and this is the key line, the one that spread everywhere. "Iran posed no imminent threat to our nation, and it is clear that we started this war due to pressure from Israel and its powerful lobby." Now, let's be precise here, because there are actually two separate claims buried in one sentence, and they need to be pulled apart. Claim 1. Iran posed no imminent threat. This is a legitimate debate. Some legal experts have argued that under current US law, an imminent threat is required to justify going to war. Kent isn't alone in raising this. Senator Mark Warner, top Democrat on the Intelligence Committee, said on the record that there was no credible evidence of an imminent threat from Iran. The National Intelligence Council, before the strikes began, reportedly flagged the risks of intervention and assessed the Iranian government was unlikely to collapse. These are real policy questions worth asking. Claim 2, the war only happened because of pressure from Israel and its powerful lobby. This is something else entirely. This isn't an intelligence assessment, this is political accusation that lands squarely in the long tradition of Israel controls American foreign policy narratives. And it's worth noting who Joseph Kent is. He's a known America First figure who has publicly opposed US military interventions abroad. Last year, he pushed intelligence analysts to rewrite an assessment on a Venezuelan gang to better fit the White House's preferred narrative. This is a man with a documented history of bending intelligence to serve politics, who is now telling us the intelligence on Iran was being bent to serve Israel. The irony is thick. None of this means the question of whether the war was justified is off limits. It isn't. But when a political appointee with a track record of ideological agenda setting frames a complex geopolitical conflict as Israel pulling America's strings, that framing deserves scrutiny, not just amplification. And that brings us finally to story number 3. On the evening of March 16th, missile and interceptor fragments fell across the Old City of Jerusalem. Debris landed near the Temple Mount, home to the Al-Aqsa Mosque and the Dome of the Rock. Near the Church of the Holy Sepulchre, where Christians believe Jesus was crucified and buried, in the Jewish quarter, near the West Wall. The rabbi of the Western Wall released a statement calling it a grave act that had no place. The International Christian Embassy in Jerusalem documented a large piece of missile debris landing directly next to the Church of the Holy Sepulchre. Smaller fragments fell on the Temple Mount itself. Iran fired missiles towards Jerusalem. Debris from those missiles landed at sites that billions of people consider holy. That's the story. And yet, within hours, a single phrase started drowning it out: false flag. Now, False flags are real, they've happened historically, but in 2026, the term no longer requires evidence. It just needs to be said first. Think about what this one is actually asking you to believe, that Israel deliberately fired missiles at its own holiest sites without a single leak or piece of contrary evidence to manufacture international sympathy. It's not a theory, it's a reflex, a way of never having to hold Iran accountable. Because the false flag label is a trapdoor. Once you use it, no evidence matters. Every photo is staged, every witness is paid, every condemnation is scripted. And the country that actually fired the missile walks away clean. That's not skepticism. That's choosing a conclusion and working backwards to fit your narrative. If you want to keep up with the latest news coming out of the Middle East, make sure to head to jpost.com.